So when he had come in and sat down, they gave him something to drink, and agreed that for the best improvement of time, they would converse with Christian until supper was ready. Piety, come, good Christian, tell us of everything that has happened to you on your pilgrimage. Christian, gladly, and I am thankful that you are lodging me. Piety, what moved you to commence a pilgrim's life at first? Christian, I was driven out of my native country by dreadful news, namely, that unavoidable destruction awaited me, if I remained in that place. Piety, how did it happen that you came out of your country by this way? Christian, it was as God would have it, for when I was under fear of destruction, I did not know where to go. Then it happened that a man named Evangelist came to me while I was trembling and weeping. He showed me the way to the narrow gate, which I would never have otherwise found. It was he who directed me into the way that has led me to this palace. Piety, did you come by the house of the interpreter? Christian, yes, and I saw such things there, that I will remember as long as I live. Especially these three things: how, in spite of Satan's schemes, Christ maintains his work of grace in the heart. Secondly, how a man had so sinned himself into despair that he had no hope of God's mercy. Thirdly, the dream of one who imagined that the day of judgment had come, and he was not prepared. Piety, did you hear him tell his dream? Christian, yes, and a dreadful one it was. It made my heart ache as he was telling of it, but yet I am glad I heard it. Piety, was that all that you saw at the house of the interpreter? Christian, no, he showed me a stately palace, and how the people who were in it were clad in gold, and how a courageous man came and cut his way through the armed men who stood in the door to keep him out. He was then bid to come in, and win eternal glory. Those things ravished my heart. I would have stayed at that good man's house a year, but I knew I had further to go on my journey. Piety, and what else did you see along the way? Christian, see. Why, I went but a little further, and I saw one hanging and bleeding upon a cross. The very sight of him made my burden fall off my back, for I had groaned under a very heavy burden. It was an astonishing thing to me, for I had never seen such a sight before. Yes, and while I stood looking up, for I could not stop looking, three shining ones came to me. One of them testified that my sins were forgiven. Another stripped off my rags, and gave me this embroidered coat which you see. The third one put the mark which you see on my forehead, and gave me this sealed scroll. And with that, he plucked it out of his bosom. Piety, and what more did you see? Christian, the things that I have told you already were the best. Yet as I traveled on, I also saw three men, Simple, Sloth, and Presumption, asleep a little out of the way, with iron chains on their legs. But there was nothing I could do to awaken them. I also saw Formalist and Hypocrisy come tumbling over the wall, to go, as they imagined, to the celestial city. I warned them of their folly, but they would not believe me. So they were quickly lost. But above all, I found it hard work to get up this hill, and just as hard to go by the roaring lions. And truly, if it had not been for the good porter who stands at the gate, I might have turned back. But now, I thank God that I am here, and I thank you for receiving me.